This is the meeting overview. Basically, I'm just going to introduce the board, and then Marge is going to step up. Could everyone who is either outgoing or incoming or staying on the board make their way up here after Marge talks? That would be super useful. This is our current membership roster. We have 61 students and supporting members. We have 23 associate members with director listings. We have 116 professional members. So I think that Audrey actually needs to update her smooth transition side. Audrey, these are CNMs and LMs, but 116. Yeah, professional members. Okay, great. And one more. Okay, so I realize this is a huge, ridiculous amount of data, but this is actually your board. These are how many of us are engaged. The farewell crew, this is always a little bit sad. These folks have worked really hard for us. That's Kat Barron. So if I say your name, can you just stand up and let us, if you don't want to stand up for us. This is Kat Barron, Peggy Thurston, who's been on the board since forever. Tina Tsoukalos, Eve German, who's already often moved to Utah. She was our Bastyr rep. Celeste Cronenberg, who is our student rep from MCU. These 5 folks are on their way, which is great. Hopefully in their free and copious time, they will make all the rest of us yummy meals. We are welcoming 4 new members this year to the board and several new student reps, which is very, very exciting. Most of these student reps I have not met yet, so hopefully today will be our day. Sarah Joy Day, you want to stand up when I call your name? Sarah Joy from Bellingham, Kristen Colley from Seattle. Catherine Suter is a consumer from Olympia. She's not able to be here today, I'm sorry to say. Christine Tyndall is one of 5 midwives who meant to be here today who is birthing. So she's not here today. Our student reps moving into 2015, Aubrey Ackerman, Sarah Garrett, Tara Mulder, Kate Richmond, Jen Segadelli, Tiffany Wilson. Tara and Jen are returning, and the other 4 are new, which is super, super exciting. As you can see, young minds play a vital role. And the rest of this list is continuing. That's Sarah Ambrose, Kristen Eflin, Kristen Eggleston, Taylor Hamill, again birthing, Louisa Hausch, Andrea Henderson, Laura Hughes, Audrey Levine, Megan McNiff, me, Emily Stevens, and Lisa Wales. So this is I am entering my 2nd term as your board president. And as always, so this, after Marge does a presentation for us, we are going to do this crazy this committee speed dating thing, where every committee has 5 minutes to sort of both summarize what they've been up to this year, which is a lot, and try and tease you into participation. So keep your eye open for what works for you. The committees are executive, QMP, legislative and policy, data reimbursement, anti-racism, membership, conference, nominations, missing clearly, fundraising. We received 50 completed member surveys, which I think is brilliant and fantastic and represents copious amounts of information for us, which we will be combing through as the content for the board retreat, which is in 2 weeks' time. Okay. So welcome, Marge Mansfield. So it's right here. Push this for you.
Well, it is really neat to see so many people here. Welcome, everybody. It's really great to be here. So before we launch into embracing our achievements and feeling gratitude for each other and everything else, and expressing our irritation and frustrations with our seemingly insurmountable challenges, I want to take a minute and just recognize somebody, one of our very important predecessors who passed away this fall. And so well-known midwife Kirsten Bjerregaard died in Skagit Valley earlier this fall. I'm just going to say a few words about Kirsten. There are probably half a dozen people at least here who knew her or knew of her, and I'm just going to talk about her for a minute. This is my personal little spiel. I'll invite a couple other people to say a few words. It might have been 1975 when Susie Myers and myself met Kirsten. We began studying midwifery and attending births with a couple of family docs and a lay midwife, and we learned that somebody had gotten licensed as the first midwife in Washington State after quite a long hiatus. Since the 1917 licensed midwifery law was enacted, as many as 200 midwives, the majority Japanese, have been actively practicing, peaking probably in the 20s and 30s. There's a beautiful historical piece done by a couple of our recent graduates about the history of some of these midwives. It's not known how many of them may have pursued or obtained licenses, but then there was quite a decline in the 40s and 50s as the Japanese and others, Native, African, African-American, Hispanic, women, to name a few, slowly discontinued or fell out of the public eye. What we understood was that Kirsten obtained license number 1 under our law in our state under RCW 1850, really well earned after she dusted off that old law and got a lawyer to help her challenge the state to present her with an exam, thereby obtaining a license to practice independently on her own authority, as she was trained to do in her home country of Denmark. In the 70s, Kirsten, on the right in that picture, was the icon of the professional midwife, she and Elaine Sherman from Chile. While we at Fremont Women's Clinic, along with Ida Mae Gaspin at the farm, represented the grassroots lay approach to midwifery education and practice, she and her several colleagues from also from other countries was the university-educated professional midwife, coming from a context where midwives were in the system and highly regarded as a critical part of the system. She wasn't really very sure what she thought of our approach, but she was curious, courteous, and friendly, and just wonderful to know her. As we created Seattle Midwifery School's curriculum, I relied heavily on her background, the curriculum of her program, and other educational models compatible with international definitions, standards, and expectations of midwives. She was really striking, very beautiful Danish beauty, really poised as a professional, often seen smoking her pipe in a highly dignified fashion. She really held her own with obstetricians, some of whom are still with us today, as she presented about home birth at Grand Rounds at University of Washington. This is in the 70s, you guys. We awarded Kirsten and Elaine, her Chilean trained colleague, our first Sage Femme Award. This is the predecessor of the Women of Wisdom Award, at probably our first or very early MAWS annual meeting in probably 83 or 84. We would not be where we are today without her contribution to our history. She died about a month ago, apparently without health insurance in Skagit County, and I just wanted to take a moment of silence to recognize her. And how much has transpired in our midwifery sphere. I mean, look where we are now. How many people have taken the Washington State exam? And her course of her brief life from the 40s until now. Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you. I also want to add that I have a client right now who is a 38-year-old woman, the only birth that I actually had the privilege of attending with Kirsten, and I could just see her in action as an independent, take charge, so competent, so kind, and I'm just extremely confident. It was really something to witness her in action. I kept wanting to help her, when she was suturing, and she just was independent. She'd stab to that thing of xylocaine, put it up like that, blind flicked it off. It was remarkable. And I think that all of us who have the privilege of working with birth assistants and students these days just need to remember that, it's up to us. We're the midwives of those births. So, thank you, Kirsten. I know that Sally Avenson has something to say, and if Winnie McNamara, Susie Myers, Joanne Myers-Tico, Anybody else has anything they want to add? Really briefly, I only have a few minutes for the quality management report. I want to invite that now. And this is a memorial to her that was found in La Conner not long after she died.
Kirsten is one of the reasons I became a midwife. I was an OB nurse at the university. She used to bring her clients in there, and I can truly say that the first time I saw her in action, I was just blown away. I saw her, again, her beautiful presence, her beautiful voice, as she whispered to this baby, to this mother. I think she had actually more than 2 arms, as she could do everything she could within the hospital setting to help, and then to gently tell the baby that it was time to be born by cesarean, and just her demeanor. So when I started, I then went to midwifery school, fast forward a few years, and when I started talking to Elaine, who was number 2 midwife, about joining her practice, she said, well, you really need to work with Kirsten a little too, because we cover call for each other. And again, I just want to share a couple of bits of clinical wisdom from long ago. First of all, we all know about a fetoscope, and I promise Susie I won't break her fetoscope, but Kirsten, who, as Marge alluded to, did everything alone, despite the fact that she had all these birth groupies, like me, who would go with her. She would have that thing on her shoulder, and then just a quick flick. It would be on her ear, on the belly, listening, and then a quick flick, and it would be back, and her other hand would be doing something else. She could do so many things. I learned to give Pitocin straight IV push, mind you, left-handed, while your right hand is inside the uterus and the partner is doing the other half of the bimanual compression. I mean, she really was a one-woman miracle midwife. Just a couple things that just are really fun back from the old days. She had a clinic in her partner Carl's chiropractic office in Bellevue, and you usually got 10 minutes for a return, 15, maybe 20 for a new OB, and the people just came, zip, 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 zip. I could not believe how much she could get done in that short period of time. Her entire record was 2 pages. Actually, I don't think she kept records at the beginning, but then Elaine's husband designed a plan. The 1 page was just little columns. He just wrote the vitals, and the next was the birth and the postpartum and the baby. So 2 pages, that's all you need for a record, folks, handwritten. Suture, as far as I know, and from what Elaine told me, or what Kirsten told me, she used the same pack of suture for her entire career. Now, I'm sorry, this is cool. Veterinary suture looks like your Costco variety of dental floss. And she would, if the alcohol dried up, she'd pour a little more rubbing alcohol. But basically, she'd pull it up, clip off a little bit, thread it through her needle, which she'd sharpen at home between births. And of course, all the instruments were boiled on the stove or flashed with a little bit of alcohol and then mash if you didn't have time. But just threaded it and, yes, stabbed a little local, a stitch or 2, and they were good to go. So pretty much that was about it for that. We would have lunch. When you were prenatal clinic with her, you went across to the same Mexican restaurant and had lunch, but it was great fun. You finished the prenatal clinic. Heaven forbid anybody would go into labor on a Friday. But amazingly, we often would go off to a birth thereafter, or if there was no birth, we would go up to her house, which was on Juanita on the water, and we would, just depending on the season, have time there. So just so you know that she wasn't just a midwife, she had an amazing life story too with her home up there. Clothing was always optional off her dock. Many boats went very slowly by. But my husband and I had the opportunity to go to a couple of her Christmas Eve parties. Anybody else ever part of Kirsten's Christmas Eve? And let me hide this in my notes before I just tell the last thing. I think that's enough. Oh, versions. Back to her house if you needed a breech version, and they would end up 32 weeks. If it was warm enough, they were in the lake. Lake Washington, if it was cold, if it was too cold, it was in her hot tub. And she had a high success rate. But her Christmas Eve party was basically come, bring whomever you want, bring whatever food you want, and she would go, and I'm sure she never paid a penny for a Christmas tree. She would go on Christmas Eve, get a tree, literally put 2 pieces of stick, you know, underneath the nail, bring it in her house, and she had Danish candles, tree candles. These are Christmas tree candles. So each person got a candle. You would put your candle on the tree, you would light them, and with only the light of these wonderful Christmas candles, we would sing Silent Night in as many languages as there were people there, and it's a very, very, very deep memory of the significance of Christmas and family and holidays, and whatever your beliefs are of the importance of the world, and that she really was a midwife and a citizen of the world. So we do miss Kirsten. She was a character. She was amazing. There is somewhere a book that years before one could just publish a book on your own computer. Somebody did an amazing book. I think it's Gabriel. Anybody remember? Gabriel was born at home. It was the boy's name. You know, typical 70s hippie birth in a home built cabin in the woods. If you ever get a chance, I'm sorry I had access to a copy and didn't get it, but Kirsten really is amazing. So I've way overstayed my minutes.
Yeah, a moment of silence for Kirsten. Can we move to the next slide? So this is not quite as emotional. Can you still hear me? So I'm the coordinator of the quality management program now. So I just wanted, because so many of you are newer midwives, or you came about midwifery not through Bastyr, where you have a professional issues class in which you learn all about stuff in Washington State. I wanted to give a really brief history of the quality management program. So it was, in 1994, Washington State Legislature passed the Coordinated Quality Improvement Law to grant legal protection for peer review processes. And this was really meant to encourage, promote educational reviews of cases for the purpose of improving practice across the board, all medical fields. And in these protected processes, reviews would not be discoverable and participants would not be subpoenaable. We are really lucky in Washington State to have this. I've gotten calls from probably 5 other states, Midwives Associations in probably 5 other states who are really wondering how we did this. And we're under this umbrella of the CQIP. So the idea is have open review of clinical cases, to encourage peer exchange, provide feedback about care, reduce malpractice, and improve outcomes. So our predecessors on the MAWS board in the early 2000s created the quality management program, described it in a document which we revise and update every couple of years, and the Department of Health approved it. So that's where we're at now. We're on rendition 4 or 5 of the quality management program document. There are 2 arms to the quality management program: peer review and incident review. So any of you professional MAWS members are probably familiar with the peer review situation in which each midwife is supposed to complete on a regular basis every 2 years, have 5 of her charts reviewed by 3 other MAWS members. The incident review process results when a midwife submits a self-report of an outcome that meets Sentinel event criteria. I really want to encourage you all to look at the website because there's quite a bit on the website and the QMP about this, so including the listing of Sentinel event criteria. These are significant outcomes, morbidity and mortality. I just want to underscore that confidentiality is really the key foundation of both of these processes. And it doesn't hold water unless everybody signs and pledges to confidentiality. When we collect paperwork from peer reviews or incident reviews, we always make sure that everybody has signed a confidentiality agreement. We've had about 70 cases just since 2012. These are self-reports and/or complaints. We also handle complaints. This is just in the last 3 years. And we talk about incident reviews, not peer review now. We've had a gradual increase in reporting of incidents since this program started in 2003. That's probably a result of several factors, one being greater familiarity with the program and increased numbers of midwives in the state. So anyway, there have been 70 incidents reported since 2012. Plenty of these aren't reviewed. They're not deemed to warrant a review, but if they are reviewed, we assemble a panel to have a comprehensive look at the chart and meeting with the midwife who submitted the report and try to provide helpful feedback. In a retrospective of the most recent cases, we have identified those themes listed. The most serious cases have involved courses of care for slightly peripheral standard of care situations, unusual ones, twins, breaches, and defects. And charting is key in all of these cases. Informed consent and really excellent charting. There have been a lot of difficulties with newborn resuscitation. I just want to encourage everybody to practice that a lot in your teams, in your practices. There have been a lot of cases resulting when there's been confusion about roles. This might be between the midwife and her birth assistant. It might be with the two midwives attending the birth together. It might be a preceptor and a student midwife. It might be a midwife covering for another midwife. What are they agreeing to do? So role delineation is really key to pay attention to. Practice guidelines. Everybody knows we need to have practice guidelines now, and we need to be following them. Documentation of informed consent. I think that's really all I had to say, but I wanted to update folks on peer review. We've had some really great examples of peer review from the midwives in Whatcom and Skagit counties who are holding regular peer reviews like every 2 or 3 months. So what this results in is opportunities for any midwife in the region to attend one of those peer reviews and bring a case of hers in a much more timely fashion and have it shared and reviewed by some of her colleagues soon after it happened, when it's a lot fresher. And then over the course of a couple of years, and maybe attending several of these peer reviews, you get your 5 cases reviewed. That's a much more creative way to approach it, and I want to encourage midwives who do live in midwife population dense areas to start to have more frequent peer review sessions that are just available. Anyone can initiate a peer review. We have a new committee member, Christine Tyndall, who is now the all-region peer review coordinator. We're putting together some new paperwork so that there will be better guidance on how to conduct these peer reviews. And hopefully they'll be more educational and not like the last minute, oh my gosh, I have to do my peer review before I have to turn in such and such paperwork. So again, the website has a lot of information. Christine is your go-to person for that. Just to review who is on the committee, we've tried to have good broad representation. I'm in Seattle. Lori Bronstein is from east of the mountains. Geraldine Lee is from Seattle. As I call your names, and if you're here, why don't you stand up? Winnie McNamara is from Geraldine. Winnie McNamara is from Burlington, Bellingham area. Lauren Riccio is also a naturopath as well as a midwife. And she's here. Susan Sherwood is a midwife who came about licensing from another pathway. She went to MCU. So we hope that that's representative on our committee. Peggy Thurston from Kids Out. Yay. And Christine Tyndall's our new peer review coordinator. Peggy, do you have something, anything else to add? No, ma'am. We have an email address. Contact any of us if you have any questions at all about peer review or incident review. We're making frequent and regular changes to the document. When I say the document, that's how we describe the program to the state. That's what gets approved, and so that's what we operate under for the following several years until we submit a revised document. And if anybody's interested in this particular committee, most of the people on it are looking at retirement. So we do need some experienced people, but we also need some new young ones. So putting out feelers. Thanks, everyone. Quick questions? Any quick questions?
Thank you so much. Skip back. So, Christine, navigate the pass. Great.
Okay, it's really fast. Thank you for switching with me so that I can drive back quickly across the pass. Basically, we just have new blood. We want to do really cool things. So call us if you want to be part of any of our committees and help us out. If you have any questions, membership at washingtonmidwives.org. And we have cool things coming next year with subscriptions. Hopefully member discounts, online conferences, CEUs, that sort of thing. Also, we have been approached, or one of us went and asked up to date if anyone wants to be part of that to get a group discount rate for the up to date thing. We can do it, and it's probably going to be added on to your Club Express as an option to do, but MAWS has to cut a check to them, so you guys have to pay us. And so we're going to have like the 31st of the year is going to be a cutoff, and we'll send it to you. That's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, she told me that. Let's see, where's Emily? Emily. Emily's here. Hello.
I'm Emily Stevens. I'm the Vice President of MAWS and the Chair of the Research and Data Committee, which is vibrant and really exciting right now. We have some really exciting things to announce. The first is that we are going to rejoin OB Cope. Thanks to a huge, tremendous fundraising campaign and generosity, we've raised the money to bridge the gap between Manistats and OB Cope so that MAWS data is going to go back in OB Cope. So the things you might want to know about that is that the data is going to go as an aggregate, as a collective. So your individual data is not going like before. You won't have to enter the data on your own. MAWS is going to send it as a group. So our data will be viewed alongside all the hospital data in Washington. Not all yet, but a lot of it. And we're getting there. So that's very, very exciting. And the other thing that's going to be coming on the horizon, which is research related, data related, is maternity neighborhood, which I'm not going to talk about now, but this is coming down the pipe for us to join a larger collective of maternity care data that's nationwide and actually worldwide. So eventually, not only will we have incredible research to publish here, but will be compared alongside a lot of other groups, which will be amazing. And we are working really hard right now on the data collection side. There's obviously a huge opportunity to do research on data. So if you're somebody who's interested in publishing a study or just learning more and getting information out, then definitely talk to me, because we don't have anyone doing that right now, and it's a real opportunity lost at this point. And finally, it's The most important thing is, what was alluded to at the beginning, is our bill that passed in the spring is going to mandate that all midwives who are licensed in the state be submitting their data. And that's going to go into effect, we thought, July, but it might be a little later, but it is coming. So I'm sure you all know this, and many of you already are enrolled in Manistats, but if you are not, this is definitely the time to do it. It is coming, and the sooner you get enrolled, the better, so that you're on board and we're using your data. If you're enrolled now, or if you enroll by the end of the year, your data will be among the first to go to OB Code. So it's free. If you don't know about Manistats, you can talk to me or anyone else, but it is a free thing, and it's very easy to enroll. Go to manistats.org and follow the instructions. All right?
Hi everybody, you're probably sick of hearing from me, but so I am here to talk about the Legislative and Policy Committee for MAWS. Most important thing, Lobby Day coming up in February on the 12th. We had it on the 13th, and we thought Friday the 13th was bad to use. No, that wasn't. We changed it
It's
so
all the
that.
mommies and their kids and Valentine's parties.
Yeah, that's what it was. Anyway, so please mark your calendars now. Please, if you're in a practice where you share a call with people, see if at least one person from your practice can come down to Olympia. We would love to have you there. Our legislative agenda is going to be renewing our budget proviso to keep our licensing fee capped. And we have spoken with Senator Andy Hill, who's the chair of the Ways and Means Committee in the Senate. Already met with him out of district. He's already on board with supporting our budget proviso. So it's going to be, we think, a pretty smooth sail on that issue. And then the birth assistant legislation, you guys know that there has been some effort to try and get language into statute about birth assistants. Have you been hearing about that? It came out of the Department of Health concern about some of the activities that birth assistants were participating in without necessarily being regulated. So things like putting in IVs and doing blood draws and administering meds. So there was a need to develop some language around birth assistants. We have drafted language for this, and it was just recently brought to Representative Eileen Cody, who's the chair of the House Healthcare Committee, who's a big advocate and friend of ours. And she said, we probably can't get it through this year because it will have to go to a sunrise review, just like the newborn screening thing went through sunrise review. Not the newborn screening, the newborn scope of care for, being able to care for babies up to 2 weeks postpartum. So that's probably what will happen in the winter of 2015. But we're at least going to bring this language forward in this session. Next slide. So Valerie and I both participated at the Washington State Hospital Association's Safe Deliveries Initiative on their prenatal and postpartum advisory committees, and that was really cool. So they're doing these best practice bundles, and they had a multi-stakeholder group in the room, and particularly the postpartum one was so gratifying. So we're sitting there, and all these people are kind of looking at the model of care that midwives provide, and they go, yeah, we want to talk about best practice. This is best practice. So that was really cool. We have been meeting with key representatives from the healthcare authority, so Dan Lessler, who is the new chief medical officer, and Marianne Lindeblad in his office, and some other folks to resolve some of the ongoing issues that we've had around credentialing and contracting and adequate Medicaid reimbursement. We are working with supportive legislators and with the OIC and Dr. Jeff Thompson, the former chief medical officer for Medicaid, to resolve the reimbursement issues that we're having with Dark Lord. I think that's it. That's all. Any
member is another one of our board members whose birthday today. So I'm going to try to give her report. I feel like there's probably not much that she knows that I don't know, except that she's been in individual touch with so many of our members. Reimbursement is absolutely the topic of the day. It is the topic of the day when it comes to professional fees. It's the topic of the day when it comes to birth center facility fees. It is the topic of the day when it comes to the healthcare authority and, you know, Premera. So, wait, listen. So, basically, the reimbursement committee is relatively new, and we have kind of partnered alongside the legislative policy. It's revived. We had many years ago a very vibrant reimbursement committee, and we burned those folks out. We burned them to a crisp. And so we've had, you know, they've been, you know, toiling away, and now we've sort of revived it inside of MAWS. Mostly, as it stands, the reimbursement team is Taylor, and she is partnering primarily with the legislative policy because most of this has been happening in Olympia in terms of what MAWS can offer. Again, we are collaborating with midwives, consumers, billers. Know that between Victoria Malloy and Ingrid and Tracy Jacoby, who is here today, the primary billers in Washington State really have your back. I hope that I won't embarrass anyone when I say Heike Doyle is kicking ass with Premera, and I'm really curious to see that. So we have so much work to do. We have a meeting planned with Jeff Thompson, the outgoing Chief Medical Officer of the Healthcare Authority. He's in private industry now, and he, I think, has some answers to the questions that we have, and some very specific. That's Premera. And again, we are in collaboration with, oops, I lost my thing. Hold on, I went ahead too far. Let's see. And again, so we're meeting with we've met with the Department of Health multiple times, the Healthcare Authority. We had a meeting with the legislative liaisons of the OIC last week, and that is what the next slide is based on, where we've met with, we're trying to get key legislators. So if you live in a district where your legislator cares about Premera and please speak up. Everyone needs to be doing something. So if we can figure out what everyone is going to do, I don't even know how much it needs to be coordinated, but every one of us needs to feel like we have something to offer here. This whole out of scope issue is completely a lie. I don't know how to coach it in any better way. They are misinformed, and they are discriminating against us as a class, and it isn't all right. So there you go. The current recommendations that we have to make today, keep in mind that these are based on our best collaborative understanding to date. They will be revised and updated as we get more information, and lots of that information is coming from you. So be in touch with your billers, be in touch with us. Out of the OIC meeting, 2 recommendations. One is for midwives to be filing complaints with the OIC upon receiving the denials from Premera about our scope. Okay, please forward those to whoever your biller is and Taylor Hamill. And I don't think that Kathy Weed is here anymore today, but I would also forward them to Kathy Weed because she did involve Assistant Attorney General Crystal Murphy on our behalf, specifically in response to Nancy Spencer's inquiry. And if we have Crystal do an AG opinion, an assistant AAG opinion, we run the risk of putting ourselves in a corner. So I think she's trying to be very careful about not limiting us, but in fact supporting us. But I do think that copies to Kathy Weed are relevant. Consumers, we were given some very specific language at the OIC last week about what to tell consumers to do and in what language and who to send it to. And we're going to write it up and send it out via e-alert. I apologize, I wasn't ready to commit to it today. So that's. I realize we have so much to say about reimbursement, and we're going to continue to be in touch, and I'm happy to talk to you about it after this meeting, but I am going to charge ahead with the much better news, which is, here we go, new board the screen, yes. So we won. Hooray. Out of all of the fuss from earlier this year, a task force was appointed by the Secretary of State, and the Attorney General was actually asked to make a determination. And in fact, I know this will shock all of you, but midwives are providers, not facilities. So any of you parading around pretending to be facilities need to know. So, because really, no. So what is going to happen is that with the card that you get for the sample, just like every other lab, you will get a client insurance requisition form to fill out that will go in that same envelope. It's exactly what we said should happen 6 months ago, and 8 meetings later, now it's happening. So we'll have one more meeting in December, and we have the support of the MAWS. Janine's been attending meetings, and Kathy Weed's been attending meetings, and we'll have one more meeting, but the idea is that they will be rolling this out as of the first year.
Okay, can we get a standing ovation for all?
Yesterday, I was like a lad with a new chew toy with this thing, so. Plus, I like to win. Okay. So, the other thing I have to announce is a work in progress. As Audrey alluded to earlier, and many of you are aware, we now have a second option for liability coverage in Washington State, and that's Southern Cross and Geisler. We have heard from the OIC that it is a legal offering, but we don't know what the details are. So MAWS contracted with independent insurance consultant Jim Chesamore, who is completely independent. He has no contact with really any of us. He came to us as a recommendation, and he's been incredibly accommodating and really smart about this. So we have engaged him to do a side-by-side detailed comparison of the two products for hopefully in time for you all to make your decisions for 2015. He's going to look at costs, he's going to look at tail, he's going to look at practice exclusions, all of that will come out. And he was hoping to have it done by today, but Anne has been very busy and slow to get her stuff to him. So as soon as she does, she was prompted again today. If you know her, you might prompt her. We're waiting on numbers from her. So that's very exciting. I think we're looking forward to seeing, to just providing information for people to make decisions about.
And Southern Cross covers VBAC, just saying.
Well, we need to wait and see what the report says, because I don't,
That's
right now.
okay. Sure.
Okay. So, technically, we're supposed to take a break right now. Where are we in our time? We're actually not doing too badly. We totally zoomed through. So what I would love is if all board members, old and new, would come to the front for a photo. Then everyone else can go quickly do whatever they need to do, and we will reconvene here by 4 o'clock. Would that be all right?